can clap along with this if you want. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to virtual worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. I'm Richard Lohr, today's worship associate, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. Today in worship, we are holding our annual jazz service. In this time, when it isn't safe to get together in body, I'm glad each and every one of you is here taking advantage of the ways we can connect across social distance in a community that nurtures and frees us. Whether you're joining us live or watching the service after the live broadcast, I'm so glad you're here. I'd also like to welcome anyone who is joining us for the first or second time. Pat Hulsabosh is our welcoming captain and would be glad to answer your questions in the chat. Pat will also be available during virtual coffee hour after the service. If you are watching live, you can log into Google to participate in the chat in real time. To help protect privacy, comments will not be available for later playback, but during the service, they are quite live and quite available to everyone, so please keep that in mind. Also, please note that live chat has certain safety features to prevent disruptive comments, so you won't be able to post special characters or complete web addresses. American Sign Language interpretation is available in a separate Zoom room for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. If you need help finding this link, please ask in the chat or email VSTechSupport@uucss.org to get the link. In a few minutes, everyone will be invited to light our flaming chalice. So now is a good time to go and get a chalice, a candle, or even a flashlight so that you can join in kindling the flame of community. But first, let's take a moment to say thank you to all the people who made today's service possible.
Greetings, UUCSS community, extended friend network, and visitors. Let's begin our jazz service for the new year with a brief reading from the Japanese writer Haruki Murakami. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain. When you come out of that storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm is all about. And I echo Murakami's words there. It is both comforting and strange to deliver my parts to this service in this lovely space. It feels surreal that the last in-person worship service was here on March 8th, of the year soon to be called last year, but feels to me something like 3 years. That day was the last time I wore this stole. Our annual music residency guest, the duo Two of a Kind, had led our children's and adult choirs on March the 1st, and on March 8th, the postlude of the very last in-person service we had was Curtis Mayfield's Keep On Keepin' On, performed right here by our a cappella group. As you saw in the Music for Gathering, our guest musicians performed in front of our holiday tree, which was placed in the choir stall window so any of our members and friends driving by can see it from the outside. This year, we are keeping the tree up through the 12th day of Christmas, which according to Christian tradition is the end of Christmas and the eve of Epiphany. Some families recognize the pagan roots of the tree, and others observe a tradition where the time to take down your Christmas tree and pack away your decorations again is on the 12th day. when there are 12 drummers drumming, as the song says. Which leads me to our guest musicians. With us today, and for the very first UUCSS board-approved non-virtual live performance pre-recorded in early December and at safe distance, is the Elijah Balbid Jazz Quartet. We welcome them back to our space for the second time, made possible by Jazz at UUCSS series sponsored by our music committee. The EBJQ, as they're called, was here 2 years ago for a brilliant performance, helping to inaugurate what has become a fixture and important outreach for our church and wider community via the local music circles and their following. So I extend my warmest welcome to Elijah and his quartet.
Please join me in the words on your screen as we light our chalices and reaffirm our congregational commitment. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring and guide us in the ways of truth. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the essential worth and dignity of every human being. May it be so. Now let's join together in singing. The words to the song will appear on the screen.
Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be. The goal may ever shine afar, the will to reach it makes us free. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving.
Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come.
This is a community of learning and growing, creating and changing, acting and organizing. This is also a community of caring and support. In these times when we cannot gather together in body, we lean into the other things that draw us close, that connect us to one another and to our web of relationships around the world. During the music, if you are worshiping with us live, I invite you to type your joys or sorrows into the chat box. remembering that everything shared in the chat box is public during the live stream. In these uncertain days, it seems we all have a lot of joys and sorrows to share, so if you would like a response, please email layministers@uucss.org and let them know you need support. If you are watching this as a recording later, please take this time to hold in loving compassion all those in your life and in our world who are in need, and to give thanks for your blessings. Let us now open our hearts to the joys and sorrows this gathered community has to share.
Lockdown by Brother Richard Hendrick, a Franciscan friar in Ireland. He wrote this poem on March 13th, 2020, posted it to Facebook, and it went viral after that, which is pretty appropriate for a poem about COVID. Lockdown. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number through the neighborhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen. Behind the factory noises of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming, and we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose
The other day, I was marveling at the astonishing majesty of the numerous telescopic photos of the current Great Conjunction, where Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn are aligned. Seeing these spectacles on a clear winter night with either the naked eye or through even a basic telescope struck me with feelings of permanence, constance, resilience, and the eternal. It somehow wrapped me in a sense of hope after this very long and difficult year. In the midst of these hard times, we have reason to hope for a less anxious and more peaceful return to relative normality. All of us are aware now that we will never be the same after this storm. As those planets line up in conjunction every 20 years or so, one thing we do know about ourselves is that change and progress is also constant. 2020, for me, represents the one step back that has to happen before the proverbial 2 steps forward. It's interesting to ponder that what many writers dubbed the greatest generation from the early 20th century, in just a 30-year period, humanity endured an influenza pandemic that infected a third of the world population, worldwide poverty and depression, global fascism, the Holocaust, and 2 catastrophic world wars. Our current one step back has thrown us yet another pandemic, a global recession, neo-fascism, unbridled racism, poverty, and income inequality. So what are our reasons to maintain hope for a new beginning? In March, when the lockdowns first happened, so many of us were afraid, and some of us may have lost family members, colleagues, and dear friends to the coronavirus. What we witnessed almost immediately were communities exercising the wisdom, resilience, and will to take care of one another. These were often selfless acts that had nothing to do with politics or the toxic vortex rampant in social media. In the city of Baltimore, where I and my family live, there is a strong sense of community that pools its resources from the selfless acts and ingenuity of school parent groups where and when funding is low. And from what I've witnessed, right after the pandemic hit, the city of Baltimore very quickly provided food for entire families with parents of school children who were either unemployed, underemployed, or underpaid. Baltimore City also has worked hard to provide Chromebooks and internet hotspots for every student in its system. Children as young as pre-K age are now learning technological skills that are far advanced for their years. Despite the challenges that families face of having to juggle between supervision of their kids and their own jobs, we are appreciating more than ever the heroic efforts of our great school teachers, witnessing their classroom firsthand with our children, as if we were there with them. The displays of solidarity in so many of our communities has been a testament to our resilience, tolerance, and understanding. We have the opportunity to examine how privilege, greed, and selfishness can only serve to destroy our society rather than to build it up. Unitarian Universalists have reflected heavily this year on the proposed 8th principle, which involves building beloved multiracial communities through dismantling racism and other oppressions. While the summer months of 2020 showed our true cultural divisions displayed on our streets, people have become more aware of the scope of the bigotries that exist around us. This is an opportunity and a further test of our resilience. The planets we see in Great Conjunction, I think, are symbols of Theodore Parker's moral arc and Martin Luther King Jr.'s bending that arc that he mentions toward justice. So symbolizing permanence and resilience. Time carries on, but maintaining the 2 steps forward is always a painful process to allow all of humanity the decency to survive and strive together. The people on our front lines are holding us valiantly in balance. Our food service employees, sanitation workers, and all other essential workers are putting themselves at great risk for our sakes. It goes without saying that our medical professionals are fighting a two-pronged war against both the deadly coronavirus and willful ignorance of science, the latter which in itself is a grave threat. But we now have a concrete path to have hope in a brighter and stronger 2021 and beyond. Our epidemiology lab researchers have worked at speeds previously unimaginable, and our doctors and nurses are on the front lines now, getting their first doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. Just like the first responders of all catastrophes, they perform their duties with focus, efficiency, stoicism, and humility. I, for one, am deeply thankful for their service and perseverance in the face of constant virulence. The pandemic has taught us that after facing our fears head-on, that we still can carry on. It also has taught us that fields that elevate the human spirit are essential too. One of those fields is the arts. It's possible that some of us took for granted how important the arts were in our lives. I, for one, have never felt, speaking for myself, have never felt more spiritually connected to my profession than I am now. Though I am one of the rare musicians fortunate enough to enjoy a steady paycheck. At least 90% of my talented, hardworking, freelance musician colleagues who were living paycheck to paycheck before the pandemic were immediately faced with little to no means for food, sustenance, and some I know could no longer afford their rents or mortgages by May of last year or of this past year. This resulted in some of them scrambling for any form of work, minimum wage employment, other odd jobs, and for others it was an opportunity for them to learn new skills in the music and tech industries. I consider music essential as it has proven mental and physical health benefits for us. On the spiritual side, the essentialness runs deep. All churches that support music know this. And just like the planets in great conjunction, music will always live on. As you've seen, our guest musicians have done what countless others have done worldwide, finding creative ways to continue making music together, whether it's done virtually, spatially, live and at safe distances, or in unusual settings such as parking garages, high-rise balconies, or even at the bottom of canyons. What we know for sure is that we are never going to be the same again. And we are going to be so much stronger when it is safe again to be together. And we will be making music with so much more passion and deeper understanding than before. Amen.
I now invite each and every person tuning into this service, whether live or at a later time, to make a financial offering to this congregation. Your offering today will help fuel the flame of this community and make our ministries and programs possible. But most importantly, making an offering will allow you to practice generosity, to contribute to this community that can do more good together than any of us can alone. There are 3 ways you can make your financial gift to this congregation. The first is by downloading the Give Plus mobile app from Vanco to set up an account. The second way is to give by using your phone to text a message to 833-880-1363. And if the app or texting just don't work for you, the third way is to give by mailing a check directly to the church. All the information you need for all 3 of these methods is on your screen now and will appear again towards the end of today's service. Every program, our different ministries, and all of the support and music and fellowship of this congregation is possible not because we charge people to participate, not because we attach a fee to all that we do. It's all possible through our shared generosity. I hope you will join me in making an offering in thanks for all that UUCSS means to you. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
Happy holidays, everybody. One of the selections from today's program is an original composition entitled Song for Everything Wrong. I picked this tune because I think it reflects a lot of the emotion and grief people have been experiencing over the last few years, especially this last year during the pandemic. While it is about some of the things that are wrong in the world, it also has a more optimistic and hopeful tune, and I hope it also serves as a release for some of the grief and the pain that people have been experiencing. Song for Everything Wrong is part of a greater body of work called the Karma Suite. Each song about a different thing that has been happening in the world or simply something that's been wearing on my heart personally. So with that, I hope you enjoy this song as well as the rest of the Karma Suite, which will be out in its entirety in 2021. So on behalf of myself and the band, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and take care, everybody.
May the gifts that we have given fuel the flame for our commitment, empower us to serve out our mission, and give the life we share the shape of truth, love, and justice. In the spirit of hope, let's now have a walking meditation of our sanctuary. Because we all know that the day will come when we are back together in this space for live worship, fellowship, music, religious education, food, activism, and in reach.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Rising up we say, I'm gonna let it shine. Rising up we sing, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Rising up we say, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And letting go of a thing, I'm gonna let it shine. Letting go of a thing, I'm gonna let it shine. Letting go of a thing, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
When in The Sound of Music, the character Maria sang the song My Favorite Things to the Fun Trap children when they were afraid of the storm. She sings, "When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad." That tune definitely resonated with John Coltrane when he recorded it in 1961. The seemingly innocuous lyrics actually had deep resonance for him at the time. I quote Coltrane here, "My music is the spiritual expression of what I am, my faith, my knowledge, my being. When you begin to see the possibilities of music, you desire to do something really good for people, to help humanity free itself from its hang-ups. The musicians is through music." Music reminds us of its power to be a spiritual conduit, often beyond what words can describe. May all of you go forth in peace in this new year we face with hope, love, and opportunity. And sing on.